Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be looking at the first part of the 1.1c lesson. If you have a multiplication chart that you like to use, it would be good to have it out. If you'd like to use a calculator for this section, you can have that out as well. So it says at Rio's reptile shop, they sell green frogs and white frogs. So we have green frogs and white frogs. 7 frogs cost $14. So it tells us that from Rio's reptile shop, we know that 2 out of every 7 total frogs are green. So looking at words that are important there, we have the word green and we have the word total. So if we were to use our word ratios that we talked about yesterday, we'll have green to total, and then it says 2 are green. So we have a 2, and then total says 7. So just by looking at that and scaling, we can figure out how many total frogs there are when 8 are green. So what we are looking for is what multiplied by 2 gives us 8. And so we're going to multiply the top by 4, and whatever we do to the top, we're going to do to the bottom. And that's going to give us 28. So this part here, where you're looking at the multiply by 4, is your scaling up. So when we answer our question, those 3 little dots just mean therefore, without having to write it out. So you would say, therefore, there are 28 total frogs. And the fact that we put it in a sentence and have the phrase total frogs, that right there is referred to as the labeling. So labeling is really important when you're looking at these problems. At any point, if you need to pause it and go backwards, that's fine. You can totally pause it at any point. So looking at equivalent ratios, inside the word equivalent, we have equa, and that is our indicator that we need something that is equal. So we want ratios that are the same. So let's take 1/2 because we like 1/2. 1/2 is the same thing as 2 out of 4 because 2 is half of 4. We could have 3 out of 6 because 3 is half of 6. Let's say we want to jump to 10. Half of 10 is 5. So all of those things would reduce down to 1/2. So that means that all of those are equivalent ratios. So in order to scale up, we are going to multiply the numerator. Just in case we forgot that over the summer, this is our top number. And the denominator, which is our bottom number, by the same factor. And the word factor is really scary, but you are going to be okay. The same factor just means the same number. So this just means number. Okay, so we're going to give it to you, give you an example using numerator and denominator, just so that we're looking at the same thing. So let's say I give you 1/3 and then I tell you it's a 4 on the top and you need to figure out what number goes on the bottom. So we scale up by multiplying by 4, and then 3 times 4 gives us 12. If you feel pretty comfortable with your multiplication skills, you can totally just, do the multiplying. If you do need to use a calculator or a multiplication chart, though, I definitely encourage you to do that. So looking at these examples, we're going to go ahead and just fill in things. So we're still in the same reptile shop, only now we have 2 green for every 5 white frogs. Scale up. So that's important because the word up is going to tell us that we're multiplying by each ratio to determine the missing number. So unknown quantity is just the missing number. So we have 2 times something equals something. So that's not a good place for us to start. 5 times something gives us 30. So 5 times 6 gives us 30. And since we need to multiply by the same number, 2 times 6 gives us 12. So that means that there are 12 green frogs. So let's take a look at B. So again, we have 2 times something is question mark, so that's not a good place for us to start. 5 times something is 45. So if you need to count out like 5, 10, 15, 20, like do that until you get to 45, or you can use a chart. We're going to multiply by 9, and then 2 times 9 gives us 18. So this means that there are 18 green frogs. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to pause it and then see if you can try C and D on your own. So you can go ahead and hit the pause button. Okay, let's take a look and see how you did. So on C, we need to multiply by 6. So if we multiply 5 by 6, it's going to give us 30. So it means that there are 30 white frogs. And on D, we're going to multiply by 11. So 5 times 11 gives us 55 white frogs. Okay, and now we're going to have you go ahead and turn the page. So we're going to be on page 13. So when you rewrite a ratio with smaller numbers, that means that you're scaling down. And so what we're going to be doing is we are going to be dividing. So scaling down means dividing. So when we look at the vocabulary, it says that scaling down is to divide the numerator. So again, if you want to refresh yourself, this is your top number. The denominator is the bottom number. And then you're going to be dividing both the top and the bottom by the same divisor. And all that means is the same whole number. So if we have our numerator on top and the denominator on the bottom, let's say I gave you 5 over 10, and I want you to reduce that something over 2. So to get from 10 to 2, since the numbers are smaller, that means we're going to be dividing. So 10 divided by what gives us 2? So 10 divided by 5 gives us 2. And 5 divided by 5 gives us 1. So when you take quizzes and things like that for class, you actually get points for showing what number you're dividing by. So that way, if you're making like a little, computation mistake, you still have the work to get your answers. So number 2 says scale down each rate. So down is a really important word there because this means that we will be dividing. So we will be dividing on all of these. So 3 divided by what gives us 1? And so this is going to be 3 divided by 3. So then 30 divided by 3 gives us 10. So that means there are 10. We're just going to use the word poles so you don't have to write out the word telephone in 1 mile. Okay. So let's take a look at B. B says we have 45 yards of fabric to make 5 dresses, and we need to find out how much for 1 dress. So we are going to divide the top and bottom by 5. So if you're putting this in a calculator and you're not sure about what order to put it in, you're going to put the 45 first, then the divided by, and then the 5. And that's going to give you 9. So that means there are 9 yards of fabric for one dress. Okay, let's take a look at C. So 24 pieces of candy split up into 2 boxes. So if we divide the top and bottom by 2, we are going to get 12. So that means that there are 12 pieces of candy in one box. Okay, and this last one is a little bit funny. And the reason this one's funny is because of how the answer comes out. So $15 for 2 t-shirts. So we want to figure out how much it is for one t-shirt. And so when you stick that into your calculator, you're going to get 7.5, which it's okay to have decimals. The question is, what does that mean for the problem? And so what this means is that it costs $7.50 for one t-shirt. Okay, so we're going to be on the last problem now. Now's a great time again to hit pause and to try 3 parts A, B, and C on your own. But one thing we're going to do before you do that is figure out if it's a scale up or a scale down, because it doesn't. Oh no, maybe it does tell us it's a scale up. It does tell us it's a scale up. I was hoping they were going to mix it up. That's okay. So 9 times what gives us 36? So we have 9 times 4. So 4 times 4 gives us 16. So that means there are 16 chocolate bars. So since they're all scaling up, we're going back to multiplication. And now's a great time to hit pause to try B and C on your own. Okay, welcome back. So let's take a look to see how you did with B and C. On B, we're going to be multiplying the top and the bottom by 6. And so 9 times 6 gives us 54. And for some reason, the 4 disappeared. So we're going to go ahead and add that back in there. So that means that there are 54 peanut bars. On C, we're multiplying top and bottom by 7. And so since 4 times 7 is 28, that means there are 28 chocolate bars. And this is where we are ending today. So after you finish this lesson, you can go ahead and hit stop, take a picture of both pages, and then attach them to this post in Google Classroom. I'll see you tomorrow.